Okay, thanks everyone for joining today. Thanks for joining the DSL Telecom webinar of Make the Move, a South African guide to Zoho Mail. So today we're going to be talking about Zoho Mail. We're going to be talking about the migration process. We're going to be talking about why Zoho Mail is good for South Africa. We're going to talk about what it's like to use Zoho Mail after. So I'm Paul Wilson. I'm the Technical Director of DSL Telecom. I lead a technical team that's done many implementations across the Zoho stack, and a lot of those implementations have really focused on the Zoho Mail platform. And with me, I've got Graham. Graham's a technical co-presenter, and he's going to help with some advice and help along the way with giving some good technical insight into the system. Welcome, Graham.
Thanks, Paul. As Paul mentioned, I'm Graham, joining as a technical co-presenter today. I work in the DSL Telecom Zoho implementation and success team. I've personally been a part of dozens of these mail migrations across an array of different South African businesses. So a lot of the insight that we give you here today will come directly out of those projects. Please do drop your questions in the chat. I'll answer them in line where I can, and I'll hold some of the bigger ones for the end of the session today during the Q&A.
Thanks, Graham. So like Graham said, we DSL Telecom. We're a Zoho Premium Partner based out of South Africa. We've done many of these implementations across the whole Zoho stack, and we've done a lot of migrations to the Zoho Mail platform. So like Graham said, there is going to be a Q&A at the end of the session, but in the meantime, if you have any questions, you're welcome to pop them into the Q&A section, which you will find at the bottom of your screen. So so today we're going to be going through the Mail platform. So let's just jump into it. Okay, so just a little bit on today's agenda. So today's agenda, we're going to be going through Zoho Mail. So what actually is Zoho Mail? Where does it come from? Why is it good for South African businesses? We're going to look at why would anyone want to migrate. So we're going to be talking about things like costing. We're going to be talking about things like Zoho One and Zoho Mail being part of packages that are already available. Some of you might be already using. We're going to look at how to migrate. So I think one of the things that customers deal with when migrating mail platforms is there's this concern of, is this migration going to be difficult? Am I going to lose my email? So because it is a business critical service, there is a bit of a misconception that this can be something scary, but it really doesn't have to be. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to look at the life after migration. So how do we interact with Zoho Mail? How do we use it? What are the different access methods? And then we're going to have some time at the end just to raise some important questions. So this will be for anyone that's joined us today to ask questions and pop their questions in the chat, and we'll be answering those questions to give you more insight onto the things that you currently may be struggling with. Okay, so let's just jump into what is Zoho Mail. So Zoho Mail is a business email platform. It's an enterprise-grade mail platform, so it can be used businesses as small as one user to as large as hundreds or even thousands of users. It's a platform that allows you to use a custom domain, so you can have your own domain and you can direct your emails to your own domain and create your own users on that domain. Okay, it's ad-free, so it's Zoho typically across their stack focuses very heavily on privacy and security. So one of the key features of Zoho Mail is that it is ad-free and privacy first, with enterprise-grade security like e-discovery, S-MIME encryption, and various enterprise security features that anyone would need on a mail platform. It's also cloud first, so it's accessible anywhere. It doesn't have to be, there's no servers running locally. It means that you can get your emails from anywhere as long as you have access to the internet. You can access your email, and there's different ways to do this, which we'll talk about later on throughout the session. And really, it's more than just email. You know, Zoho Mail platform, it's a whole business mail platform. You're going to get access to email. You're going to have access to calendars, your contacts, tasks, notes. There's even plugins and integrations that work really well with the system and allow enterprise grade activity on the mail platform. It's also got an admin area, so your administrator, your in-office administrator, or if you want to administrate it yourself, it's very easy to do from the Zoho admin console. You can do things in the admin console like adding aliases, creating groups, shared mailboxes, and it's very easy to do and manage from the admin console. As us as DSL Telecom, we're also happy to help manage this, and we can help maintain this for you if required. And then it's also already included in Zoho One. So for those users out there that are already linked to the Zoho One platform and using other Zoho services, you might not know this, but Zoho Mail is already available on this platform, and it can be easily added to your Zoho One platform and then give your users access. And this is a great feature, seen as that this can reduce costs. So it might be that you're already paying for this as part of your Zoho One package, and you can simply just add your users. Okay, so throughout today's session, we're going to have some expert advice where we're going to lean on Graham to bring some of his expertise that he's learned in the field. So today, in our first expert advice, Graham, over to you.
Thanks, Paul. I think a really big one to flag is the integration capability of Zoho Mail. It doesn't stand on its own siloed. It forms part of the same ecosystem as your other Zoho applications, your CRMs, your Zoho desks, your projects, your tasks. And what this actually means is that when you are looking at an email, you can see, you get a client history. You can see the deals that you're open, that you have open with the client, the tasks that you're currently working on for that client, a full client history within your emails. And that's a genuine productivity advantage that you don't get when your emails are siloed on their own platform. Just a real world example of this is I was assisting a colleague a few days ago, actually, where he could see the last interactions that we had with that customer, all of the open tasks that we currently have with that customer, the deals that we are working on with that customer, all from within his business or his business email. And if that workflow was outside of the CO or outside of the Zoho ecosystem, it's going to require 5 Chrome tabs and 10 minutes just to understand exactly what is going on with that customer. So a big one there is the integration capability of Zoho Mail.
Thanks, Graham. 100%. So that's exactly it. Email isn't just sitting on its own. So it's part of your organization, and then the fact that it can talk to all of the other apps, and as well as have all these additional features like tasks and calendars within the Zoho Mail platform itself. So we're going to talk about why migrate. So there's a lot of reasons why you should migrate. We're going to focus on this based on the South African or the African business. And we're going to jump into that and look at those different reasons of why it really makes a difference to move to the Zoho platform, at least for mail. Okay, so obviously there's the cost problem. So firstly, if you look at platforms like Microsoft 365 or Gmail, these platforms typically their billing is structured in a USD and based around the dollar. So every time the rand weakens or any up or downs in the currency exchange will cause your mail pricing to change. And Zoho Mail is based on SA pricing. So it is based on the rand price, and it doesn't fluctuate with the dollar. It's a set rand price, and it is reviewed on its own. And that also comes from the fact that Zoho is present here in South Africa. And then we're going to look at some of the features that are available within the Zoho Mail platform. Email retention, e-discovery, and SMIME encryption. Often these are add-ons from other platforms, but within Zoho Mail, these come pretty much standard. So you've got enterprise-level features, or within this bulk-priced, RAND-based pricing system. And then obviously if you're Zoho One already, I mentioned earlier, but if you're already on the Zoho One platform, your email's already included. So you're already paying for all your users to access CRM, to access books, to access projects, and you're probably using these services effectively, but you might not be aware that Zoho Mail is available, and you can simply cut a cost of Workplace or 365, and you can implement the Zoho Mail that you're already paying for on the Zoho One platform, and get it set up easily. Okay, then there's the privacy and support problem. So obviously in South Africa, everyone's heard this term POPI. It's been thrown around a lot in the last couple of years since it's come into play. So Zoho Mail is fully POPI compliant and it sits in a very POPI friendly environment. Often that is looked at based on where data is stored and how data is handled and managed. And with Zoho being a privacy or security first business, that it is certainly POPI compliant. And then there's also some of the other providers that will be scanning your email. So some services, you're going to get ads within your email platform, with Zoho there's no advertising. So they don't have any revenue come from advertising, all their revenue comes from the service and providing a good product. So yeah, so no ad revenue for Zoho Mail. And then obviously from a support perspective, us as DSL Telecom, we've done hundreds of these migrations. We've got hundreds of customers using the Zoho Mail platform, and we support customers on a day-to-day basis. So with local support available in South Africa, we had to help. Graham, have you got anything to say on this?
Thanks, Paul. I do. You touched on it earlier, but recently the conversation is around POPI compliance has really shifted. I'd say within the last 3 to 5 years. We've seen clients, especially in your professional industries, your financial and your medical industries, they're genuinely asking questions now about, where's my data sitting, who has access to my data, and is that data being used to profile me as a customer? So the fact that Zoho's built their entire business model around not doing this is something that customers are really latching onto. Yeah, that's what I can say there.
Cool, thanks, Graham. And that's not just marketing. That's Graham getting this in the real world and what customers are actually saying to our guys on a daily basis. Okay, so let's just look at a little bit of the feature comparisons and the cost structures behind the Zoho Mail platform, and in comparison to some of the other bigger players in the market. So if we look at Microsoft 365 or Google, you're looking at typically around a $6 per user per month costing, whereas those based on about, typically if we had to convert it to dollars, would be about $3 per user per month. So in Rand terms, the other guys are about 115, so that's 57 Rand for Zoho Workplace. That's about half the price. So definitely more cost effective than some of the other players. Then we've also got the fact that there's no email scanning. So Zoho Mail, I know Microsoft also doesn't scan emails, so Zoho Mail certainly doesn't scan emails. And there's no advertising within the platform. And then it's already included in your Zoho One license. And then obviously there is local support available. So we here at DSL Telecom are always happy to help and happy to support. So maybe Graham can give us some insights into some of these conversations that might have been had with customers.
So some of the insight there I can give you is as Paul mentioned, the saving compounds drastically over time. So every time we've had the Rand weakening against the dollar, your offshore emails are getting far more expensive. All right. So Zoho has this locked in regional pricing in South Africa. And every time the Rand weakens, that gap to the providers that are charging in dollars it gets wider and wider. We've saved clients thousands, if not tens of thousands of Rands a month, obviously based on the size of the customer, just on the email alone. And that's before we've even started consolidating the rest of their tech stack onto the Zoho platform.
Yeah, thanks, Graham. So let's just put some perspective to that. So for a 20-person business on 365 or Workplace, or sorry, Google Workplace, you're looking at about a 27,000 Rand a year. On Zoho Mail, the equivalent would be 13,000. So you're looking at about a 50% cost saving on your mail platform, which is it's a business critical service. It's a service that just needs to operate. Also, Zoho has a very, very good uptime. We really haven't had any downtime. I think in my time, in the last 15 years, I don't think we've had very, very little, maybe a half day of downtime. Graham, have you seen any downtime on the Zoho Mail platform since you've been working with customers?
I really haven't, Paul. I haven't been on the software as long as you have, but in my five years, I really haven't seen any downtime on the Zoho platform.
So yeah, great cost savings and enterprise grade service really is what you're getting on the Zoho Mail platform. Okay, so we're going to just jump in here and look at why it really works for the South African market. So Africa obviously being slightly different to the rest of the world, but catching up quickly. But what are the real USPs of Zoho Mail for the South African business? And just to reiterate some of the things there, like the rand-based pricing. So we want as a business, business owners want pricing to be predictable. They want to have the same costs month to month. And if the pricing's directly linked to the US dollar, this often isn't always the case. So the fact that Zoho Mail is priced in South African rands for South African businesses is a big plus for the South African market. POPI alignment, so the fact that it's fully POPI compliant. So this takes a lot of stress off the sort of the executives of making sure that the data is kept in a POPI compliant environment, and Zoho is fully POPI compliant with Zoho's privacy model, really focusing around security, no data mining, and not selling its data, and just focusing on giving a good product. And it's also part of the Zoho ecosystem. So if you're already using any of the Zoho products, Zoho Mail will integrate to these products already, and allow you to leverage the whole system, or the whole Zoho system, if you're using Zoho One. And then local expertise, looking at DSL Telecom based in South Africa. We've got hundreds of customers all around South Africa, and in other places in the world, but really with local expertise who operate in South Africa, who understand the South African business, who can speak the South African languages and help South Africans support their mail services. Okay, so we're going to jump into another little bit of advice there. So Graham, what have you got for us?
Yeah, so as you could see earlier from one of the earlier slides that Paul showed us there, is that the price of the Zoho Workplace is pretty much half the price of some of your other email providers, being Gmail and Microsoft in those slides. So the first one is the savings. The savings compounds drastically over time. And as I mentioned, we've saved thousands, if not tens of thousands rands for customers. And then the second and probably simplest one is, if you are on Zoho One, you already are paying for a business email license. It's part of your Zoho One package. There's really no need to be paying for another platform to run your business email in, and you get the great advantages of it being part of your Zoho ecosystem. The integration capabilities there are really a great feature.
Thanks, Graham. Yeah, and this is coming from Graham, who's dealing with these customers on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so we're going to start jumping into the migration. Now, the migration is obviously this perceived as a scary step to take, and what is going to happen? It's a business critical service. Am I going to lose all my data? What's going to happen next? So I'm just going to jump into migration and how to migrate. So it's a step-by-step process. It's really doesn't need to be scary, doesn't need to be something that anyone needs to be worried about. We can go through it on a very, very clear, easy to follow process. So basically everything comes with, so you don't need to worry, am I going to lose any of my emails? All your historical emails, your contacts, calendars, everything migrates across, so nothing gets left behind. So there's no need to be concerned about, am I going to have to search my emails, or am I going to have to find my emails in another place? They're all going to come they'll all be sitting in the Zoho mailbox, and you'll have access to these emails as soon as that migration is cut over. There's also no downtime, so we plan the migration in such a way that we go and set up all the users, make sure the users' mailboxes are set up. We then go and transfer all the mail, so go get all the mails from the old service and move them into the new service. Customers get the opportunity to check it out, make sure that the emails are all there before that cutover happens. And then the actual action of cutting over is by logging into the hosting control panel and just changing the DNS, the MX records on the DNS settings. Once that MX record changes, this is the record that basically tells the internet where to send emails. So when someone sends an email, it goes onto the internet, it looks up the DNS, and it will find the MX record for that domain, and it will know exactly where to direct it And this is where we basically tell the MX record, we tell the hosting controller that emails don't need to go to Microsoft or Outlook anymore. They need to now come to Zoho Mail. So this is essentially the point of cutover. It takes about 10 or 15 minutes, and we often do this in the evening just to ensure that it gives some time to propagate through and that the emails start flowing into the Zoho Mail inbox. We can often do a catch-up migration. If there's any emails that came through sort of in this time of this changing the MX records, which is unlikely, but we can also do a catch-up and just catch up the data that maybe was in the difference between the initial migration and the cutover. And then if anyone is still worried or concerned about this, we at DSL Telecom offer a full migration service where we'll do this all for you. So if you're worried and you're still concerned about the migration process, give us a shout, and we'll be happy to do the migration for you and walk through your users on how to use the system. Graham, do you have anything you'd like to add on migration?
Yeah, so typically there are three things that customers are scared of, and this is pretty much on every migration that we've done, and you've touched on them. There's one is, will everything be migrated across? When we assist you with that migration, I guarantee you everything will go across. You don't need to worry about that. The second one is they're scared that there's going to be a downtime for their teams, you know, an opportunity, or not an opportunity, a chance that they're not going to be able to send or receive emails for a period of time. There will be a downtime, but not in the way that you think. It's a quick little period where we're switching the MX records over. And then lastly, they're scared typically that the IT person on their side is going to need to drop everything for a week or two, you know, just to sort out any issues that arise from the migration. When we do this migration for you, we run the whole thing, and we often hear back from customers that it's actually one of the smoothest projects, or one of the smoothest IT projects that they've been a part of. So when we assist them do it.
100%. Thanks, Graham. So, you know, for those of you who don't know what to expect or scared of what to expect, we're happy to help you through it. And that's why it always helps to have a partner who's done this hundreds of times, actually run this migration process for you. Okay, so we're just going to look at the migration journey. So basically the migration journey is run over 4 basic steps. So basically it's signing in to verify the domain. We add the users and create the mailboxes, and then we go ahead and import any historical mails. So that's taking emails from the existing service and pulling them into the Zoho Mail service. Once that's all done, and you've been able to check, and the users have checked that the emails are correct, we can then go ahead and update the MX records, and at that point you are live on the Zoho Mail service. So very, very simple migration journey, nothing to worry about, and we're also happy to help and do that for you. And we can also talk about the migration methods. So with Zoho Mail, we've got at least 4 migration methods that we can use. So there's one-click migration. So this is a simple one-click operation that is used for Office 365 using the Exchange protocol. Then there's also the IMAP and POP migration. This is a server-to-server migration using the standard IMAP and POP protocols, where we allow the server or Zoho Mail to log into your old service and then pull the mails from it. This can work with any provider, whereas the one-click only works with Office 365. And then for anything that doesn't use these services, we got the PST import, which anyone who's used Outlook or knows Outlook very well will understand that Outlook creates a PST file, and that PST file can be extracted and imported into Zoho Mail, and then also email and inbox import. So this is just email files that can be directly imported as a zip file and pushed into the Zoho Mail platform and added to any user. Guys, I'm just going to talk through the one-click migration. It's a very easy 3-step method, and this is when you're moving from Microsoft 365 and you're moving to Zoho Mail. So just one of the notes that this needs to be done from an admin user, and we need to assign what they call an impersonation role. An impersonation role in 365 allows the admin user or the admin login to go and interact as the individual users within the system. And this is important because basically it means that the whole migration gets done from a single login without having to log into each user. And that's why it's the one-click migration. Right. So what you do, step one, we just provide the server details. We log into Zoho Mail. We select 365 as the source. We enter the details, and we link it to the Zoho migration platform. We then configure the migration settings. So this is where we choose what emails. Do we want to migrate all emails? Do we only want to migrate emails from a certain date range, or just from the past 6 months? There we can go set all those. This comes into play when there's connection or storage limits. And then once that's all been set and we've selected all the users, we can start the migration. It'll import all the users directly from Zoho Office 365. So it'll go get all the user list. It'll pull all those users into the Zoho Mail platform. It'll map the source to destination mailboxes, and the migration will run in the background. At the end of any migration, so any of the methods that we looked at the end of any migration, the Zoho migration tool gives us a very nice report that tells us what came across, what failed, were there any issues. Just Graham, just from the field, running these migrations, have you got any tips on this?
Well, I do have some tips. We often get some clients who are nervous about the migration. So just the way we do it is we typically run a test migration on 1 or 2 of the smaller mailboxes, typically a volunteer or someone from the management team. So this typically takes around an hour to 2 hours. So then what we let them do is we let them see their full mailbox land inside Zoho Mail. We let them navigate around, make sure that all of the emails are there. They can respond to a couple of emails. They can go check the tasks. They check the calendar. If anything looks off, we can then go in and fix that before it's time to cut over and move everyone else over onto Zoho Mail. This method really seems to quell some of the nervousness that these customers have before switching over completely.
Thanks, Graham. So that's just some of the stuff that we've learned from doing multiple of these migrations. So if you guys are scared of these migrations or you apprehensive about it, give us a shout. We'll be happy to help you through these. We know all the pain points. We understand how to run these things. We've done them many, many times before. Okay, so I mentioned earlier that there's some advanced migration features or some enterprise type features that are available on the Zoho Mail platform. And this takes away even more of the pain of the migration. So if anyone is still worried about migration, we can use these features either to ease the migration, or we can use these as long-term features when using the service. So these 2 features I'm talking about specifically are split delivery and dual delivery. So if we look at split delivery, what is split delivery, right? This is when we basically allow certain users to run off one email service and other users run off Zoho Mail. So you could have certain teams that you want to keep on Outlook, but we want to move, say, just a support team to start with to Zoho Mail. And this is where split delivery can be very useful. So basically what it does is it allows the servers to understand which emails for which users need to go to the existing or the older service, and which emails need to come to Zoho Mail. So that's split delivery, quite a nice feature that can be used effectively, especially we've seen this a lot, especially in large enterprises or large companies that are wanting to migrate at a more palatable pace. And then we've also got dual delivery. So this is where email are received in both platforms. So this can be set up that emails are basically received in Zoho Mail, and they are still received for that same user back into Outlook, Gmail, or any of the other services. So this allows users to test their mail and make sure that everything's working before that final cutover. So it also allows this rollback safety net that sometimes really eases the burden of, or the expectation of, what could happen during my migration process. So let's have a look if Graham's got any more tips for us. Graham, anything else for us?
Yes, Paul. I've got 2 tips on this point. The first one is the timing of the MX record cutover. We typically recommend doing this on a Friday afternoon or a Saturday morning. That's when you've got fewer people actually using the business email platform. And when we do that, the team, so when we do cut the MX record over, it can take 15 minutes up to 24 hours for that MX record to propagate through the system. And then once that's done, your team wakes up on Monday mornings and they head into their Zoho Mail without any issues. The second tip that I have here, and it's just also for safety and to avoid the nervousness, is that keep your old email platform running for 15 to 30 days after the migration. The reason we recommend this is because sometimes there is delays in those emails heading to the old platforms. And that then gives us the opportunity to go back and migrate those last few emails that did head into the old platform or on the old server over to Zoho Mail.
Awesome. Thanks, Graham. Two small things, but two small things that really make the migration smoother, easier to manage, and less scary to undertake. Okay, so that covers sort of how we migrate. Let's have a little look at what life is like after migration. So once we've migrated, how do we actually utilize the Zoho Mail service? So we're going to look at the 3 ways that you can access your mail using Zoho Mail. So these three methods, we've got obviously Trident, which is the desktop app. So anyone who comes from an environment of using Outlook and Outlook on their computers, it's a desktop app that sits on their computer. It's available Windows, Mac, and Linux, and it gives you one window. So it's one tool that sits on your computer, and from there you can chat, you can book meetings, you can use Click, you can use basically the whole workplace suite right from within this desktop application. Then we've also got the mobile app. So for those people on the go, sales reps, people who are on the road, mobile app, it's iOS and Android. There's push notifications, there's swipe actions. So anything that you can do on the email services you're currently used to doing on your mobile is available on the Zoho Mail mobile app. I think it's just recently been updated, which is fantastic. And it's really, really nice to use and easy to use. There's also a 2-factor authentication, which is quite nice. So if you have set up your mobile app, you can also lock it so that even if your phone is unlocked, you still need to unlock to get into the mobile app. And then obviously there's web access, and this is probably the most widely used on the Zoho Mail platform. So it's available on any browser. So whenever you've got an internet connection and availability to a browser, you can access the web access for Zoho Mail. So very nice to use, very easy to use, and if you've used any online mail service before, it will be no stranger to you, and you'll be able to really manage it properly. Okay, so first let's talk about Trident, the desktop app. So first, it's available on Windows and Mac. I think there's a Linux version too, if I'm not mistaken. So it's available on any platform. One of the nice things about the Trident desktop app is it does give you offline access. So this means that you can work on your emails. If you're jumping on a flight, you can use Trident to write your emails, draft your emails. And as soon as you get back onto an interconnection, those emails will then be sent. It's a unified inbox, so you can manage multiple accounts and multiple aliases. So if you've got multiple user or multiple Zoho accounts that you're using Zoho Mail for, Trident will be able to unify these mails into a single application where you can view all these mails in one place. And then there's also smart filters, so we can snooze and email scheduling, which are quite nice features that are used. So you can schedule your emails. You don't have to send your emails. You can send them at a certain time. And then there's obviously the notifications and things that can be snoozed. Then we've also got dark mode. So dark mode and theme options. So we can change the colors. We can change the look and feel. We can really make it as a comfortable tool to use. So yeah, so we a lot of our guys in our office use Trident. Some people do, some people don't. So it's not imperative that everyone uses it, but it is there and it is available to use, and it's easy to use. You know, if anyone has used Outlook, then Trident is quite a nice tool to move on to. Okay, so here's what it actually looks like. So it's a clean three-panel layout. You can see your folders and accounts on the left, your inbox in the middle, your messages itself on the right. New mail option to the top left, quick access icons for calendar, contacts, and tasks right next to it. Everything one click away. And at the bottom of the message, you can see streams where you and your team can comment on a thread without forwarding it 5 times. That's Trident. Familiar enough to use immediately, modern enough to actually enjoy. So streams is something that probably you're not used to in your traditional email, but streams allows a collaborative layer within the Zoho Mail platform. very nice to use. We use it internally quite a lot, where someone can draft a mail and they can share it, and this will show up in their streams, and they can view this before actually sending the mail. Okay, then there's the mobile app. So again, it's available on iOS and Android. It's lightweight, it's very easy to use. It doesn't use a huge amount of data, and it does also have push notifications. So you will know in any emails that come in, you'll get a push notification and you'll be notified as soon as it arrives. There's also swipe action. So anyone who's used email on a phone, Outlook, people are used to these services on their phone. There's swipe action. So if you swipe your mail, you can mark it as read, mark it as unread. You can delete it, archive it. All these tools available within the mobile app. And then obviously the integrated calendar and contacts. So all your calendar comes across, and this is available and viewable on the application, as well as your contacts. So if you need someone's email and you're on the road, or you need someone's phone number and it's in your contact book, this is easily available on the Zoho mobile application. And there's also the biometric login, which I mentioned briefly earlier, but this allows you to lock your mail application. Even when your phone's unlocked, you'll still need to use your biometric login every time you want to get in. So that could be your face login, or it could be your fingerprint. So this just adds an additional level of security to your mail platform. And obviously security being an underlying thread we've talked about today, and it's important that we keep our mails secure. So it just shows a little look of what the mobile application looks like. It's clean, it's fast, it's exactly what you expect. Designed to be usable with one thumb on the way out of a meeting, in the same inbox you have at your desk, just size for your pocket. So it's a very simple application, and it's very easy to use. So no need to be concerned about a clunky, complicated UI environment. It's very straightforward and easy to use. Okay, then we've obviously got Zoho Mail. So Zoho Mail on the web access. So this is where you access mail.zoho.com or .eu or whatever data center you currently hosted in. And it's very simple to use, and probably the most widely used amongst our customers. So in the mail, you get or on the web, you get the full Zoho Mail experience, and you can do this across any browser. That's Chrome, Firefox, Ula is the Zoho browser, for those of you that don't know, but also Safari or any of the other browsers are available. We've got Streams, which I mentioned earlier when we were talking about Trident. Streams is also available on the web access platform, and Streams is an intelligent inbox that we can also separate your newsletters notifications from your real email. So it uses sort of AI features to understand what emails are notifications, which ones are marketing, and it'll be able to separate these into mailboxes for you to easily go and check these when need to be, but also to remove clutter from your main inbox. And there's also no device dependency. So you're not worried about what device you're on. As long as you've got internet and you've got a browser, it's very easy to use. Okay, plugins to integrate to existing Zoho systems. So we've talked quite a bit about the Zoho ecosystem and Zoho One and all the Zoho services, and Zoho Mail obviously integrates really well across all these services. So we've got e-widgets or e-plugins that sit on the right side of your mailbox, and these are connecting to other services. So you could open your CRM as a panel within your Zoho Mail, and it will understand what email you're looking at and link directly to your CRM system, whether it's a contact or a deal, and you'll be able to affect that deal directly from the Zoho Mail application using the plugin. And then obviously there's also buttons that integrate directly into the Zoho Mail, so we can start a click message on a specific email, or we can send that lead to CRM or Zoho Desk as a ticket. There's many ways that we can do this. And then obviously keyboard shortcuts. So keyboard shortcuts, great to use for the power users, so the guys that are really working in email a lot and jumping around a lot. No need to move the mouse and click. You can simply start a new email or delete an email or mark something as read, simply using your keyboard shortcuts. So this is something that allows you to really navigate the system quicker and more effectively than what you would do with your mouse or just in normal usage. So just remember that email it's a window into the rest of your business, and it's something that we want to be able to utilize easily from anywhere, and that's why these three ways of using the Zoho Mail service is really nice and available to us. So here's just a look at the web interface. So there's just a GIF I've got on the screen, and it's just running through what you can do and what you can see in Zoho Mail. So it's similar to Trident. You're gonna get your folders, your views on the left, inbox in the middle, messages on the right. We've got our tools on the very right, which is our e-widgets and our plugins. And whatever device you're on, the experience stays consistent. Switching between Trident and the desktop and the web and the road, it's very seamless. So all the tools and the way you interact with, whether it be the web service, whether it's Trident, or whether it's the mobile application, are all very similar, and the operations are similar and intuitive and easy to use. Okay, so let's just have some more advice from Graham, who's obviously used these things and helped customers use these things.
Thanks, Paul. I think there's definitely two features worth mentioning here. The first one being email delegation. If you are someone, perhaps a director or a manager or someone who's just really busy and you have someone assisting managing your mailbox, the email delegation feature is quite fantastic. You don't need to share your password or your login credentials with the person that you're delegating your emails to. They'll be able to access your inbox from or using their own credentials. They'll be able to work in your inbox. The work that they do is auditable. And if for whatever reason you need to revoke that access, you can do it by a click of a button. And then the second feature is one that saved my bacon more than I care to admit, but it's the undo send feature. Zoho Mail gives you a configurable window after hitting the send button. And there's various different options, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, minute, 2 minutes. After you've hit that send button to pull that email back, and it actually doesn't end up being sent to whoever you are sending that email to. This is something that I recommend turning on immediately after you've completed the migration. Those are hands down my two favorite features.
Fantastic, thanks, Graham. So just some expert advice there from Graham, and these are things that obviously Graham's used, that other guys within our organization have used, and that we've helped customers use to really get the most out of their mail services and get the best usage out of these services. So thanks, Graham. That's two fantastic features then. Okay, so now that we've looked at migration, we've looked at how do we utilize the Zoho Mail service, we're just gonna hold off for a couple of questions. I don't know if anyone's got any questions. I haven't seen any being popped there, but I've been focusing on the presentation, so we'll hold off for a couple of questions and see if anyone's got anything they want to raise.
So Paul, I do see a question, quite a good question in here. The first one being from Natalie. She asked, are there any mail storage limits? So to answer that question, Natalie, depending on the plan that you do take, there are some storage limits between 5 gigs and 100 gigs, obviously depending on the plan. But one of the great features is you can purchase additional storage for your Zoho Mail. Then another question that I see here is can you recall your emails using Zoho Mail? So 2 points that I want to highlight there is one is obviously we want to take care of the route before or let me just say, yes, you can recall the mails. There's a 30-minute window where you can recall the mail, but that will depend on whether the recipient has opened that mail or not. But again, I think one of the great features there is the undo send button. So if you do realize that you've made a mistake, you've got that configurable window where you can stop that mail from going through. And then I think potentially the last question that we're going to take here is, can I migrate specific folders from specific dates? So to answer that question, yes, you can migrate specific folders, and you can do this all from within the Zoho Mail console. It's as easy as selecting which of the folders from the old mail, particularly when you are doing the one-click migration, selecting the folders from the old email service that you do want to bring over into Zoho Mail. So yeah, those are some of the questions that I see here in the chat.
Yeah, so sorry, can you hear me now? Just a note on that migrating specific folders is that obviously once the MX records are changed, if you're not using the split, the dual delivery, then the emails will all be coming into the new inbox. So if you had filters in the past that move emails to a specific folder, these emails will then be coming into your main inbox. So you would have to either recreate those folders and then push them into those folders. But as Graham said, certainly you can choose the folders you want to migrate, and we can certainly choose the dates that we want to migrate from. So you don't have to migrate your full history of emails. You can just migrate from the past 6 months, or the past month, or whatever works. Any other questions there, Graham? I see someone says they need some help. We're happy to help with anyone who needs some help with migration or making sure their account is set up correctly. If a user would like to move only their active emails into Zoho Mail, current and recently used correspondence, and can all older emails together with the existing folder structures be archived and moved into Zoho Work Drive in a secure location with access limited to only them? What is the best way to do this so the archive remains usable if we ever need to refer back to it? Yes, that is certainly possible. We can, like we mentioned earlier, the migration can be done for a specific date. So we can say only migrate emails from the last week, and then all the emails prior to that can be exported as, probably if we're going to be hosting it in Zoho Work Drive, we'll export it as an EML or inbox file, and those can be put as a folder within Zoho Work Drive, and then that Work Drive can be searched, and then those files can be opened directly in email, in any email client, even in Zoho Mail. So we can open those mails separately. Okay, then there's also another question here. We would also like some clarity on email retention rules in Zoho, specifically what can be kept indefinitely, what can be figured to auto-delete over time, any best practice recommendations around the retention for both email, mail, and archive data. Okay, that's a great question. So obviously there is tools within Zoho Mail. So there's tools that can be set up to auto-archive emails after a certain time point. But there's also the e-discovery tool. So this is an enterprise-grade tool that is available to Zoho Mail users. And what the e-discovery tool allows to happen from an admin perspective is it allows your admins to back up all emails. So it backs up all the emails into the e-discovery tool. And those emails, this will even be for users that have been deactivated. And then those emails can be searched by an admin. So an investigation can be created and set up, and those emails can be searched. In terms of best practices, so it really depends on the business operation, but the best practices normally for archiving is normally 6 months to 12 months. Any mails older than that typically aren't referred back to, and they should be archived for in case they ever needed to be referred back to. But that's sort of the best practice. I don't know if you've got any insight there, Graham. Okay, then I was going to take one more question. I know we probably tight on time. Sorry, Graham, did you have something to say there?
No, I was just agreeing with you. I think you've hit the nail on the head there.
Okay, so I'm just going to take one last question here, which is we want to make sure out of office settings and mail routing continue to work as expected after the move. Please, can you confirm what will migrate automatically and what we will need to recreate in Zoho? So great question. So the migration that will happen will be all your mail addresses and your users. Obviously, this depends. Are you using the one-click migration, or are you using the IMAP or POP migration? If it's an IMAP or POP migration, then basically what will be moved is all your folders, so the folder structure and all emails to those folders. Any filters would need to either be exported separately and imported into Zoho Mail or reset up within the Zoho Mail platform. But these filters are very easy to set up, and it shouldn't be a concern. Email routing will happen. Typically, email routing happens as per the email addresses, and the MX records would allow this to happen. But if you're worried about these things, we're happy to help you and walk you through the migration process to make sure that everything is covered and that you have nothing and no outliers, and that your email operates exactly as it did in the old service and as it does in Zoho Mail. So just a couple of things maybe we haven't talked about today in depth, and that's things like email signatures. So email signatures, easy to set up. We can have multiple email signatures per user. These email signatures can be assigned based on the alias email being used, based on the user, and these are able to be used across all the platforms. So Trident, web access, and the mobile application will all use the same email signature. And these signatures can also be set up from the admin environment. So we can also control how the email signature looks for all the users and manage it from an admin environment, and not leave this up to the users to have signatures. And we see this works quite nicely, where we can actually control the look and feel of the signature, that the users don't have the ability to change their signatures and set them up how they want them set up. But obviously both are available. And then out of office, again, also out of office is set up. It's very easy to activate and deactivate. This will need to be set up separately and not as part of the migration, but again, very easy to do and not really a challenge. So it's not something to be concerned about. It can also be done via the admin portal. So the admin can set up out of office responses and what these out of office times are for their users. And then obviously all the available tools from out of office, reply once in a certain time period to any specific user is available in the Zoho Mail platform. So I think that covers all the questions. I don't see any others there. Yeah,
I do see one more question there. Do we support South African companies, or do you also support international companies operating from South Africa? As DSL Telecom, we will support everybody.
Yeah, 100%. So we've got lots of customers that are sitting in South Africa. We've got lots of customers that are sitting outside South Africa. So we're happy to support anyone, and we're happy to help anyone in their journey with Zoho Mail or any Zoho service for that matter. So the way we perceive Zoho Mail, it's a fantastic service for the South African, it's a fantastic service for the African market, and we're happy to help anyone. So yeah, we're there. We're here and we're here to help.
For sure. I just want to inform all of the attendees, if we didn't get to a question, or if there was a question that was burning and you didn't want to ask it on the Q&A, when you do leave the webinar here today, you will be redirected to a form. If you could put your questions on the form, and we'll ensure that we answer each and every one of those questions, and we'll get back to you on that form.
Awesome. Thanks, Graham. And thanks, Graham, for your time and for helping me out on today's webinar. And thanks for everyone for joining. I think it's been a very productive session, and hopefully we've given everyone an insight into the Zoho Mail service, and hopefully remove some of the apprehension of the migration process. It's not something to be scared of. It's not something to worry about. It's very, very easy to do. And we're here to help. And like Graham said, there is going to be a form that will be sent to you at the end of the session. Please fill in the form, and we'll get one of our consultants to contact you and help you through whatever questions or migration plans you might want to run. We're here to help, and we're happy to help anyone. And then just one last note. So funny enough, today is Africa Day, and Zoho has launched a marketing campaign or a free to use Zoho Workplace. So what they're doing is 54 countries. So this is based in the African market. So there's 54 countries, and they're offering 54 businesses Zoho Workplace free for a year. So there is a application process, and there is a form that needs to be filled out. So if anyone's interested in applying for this and getting access to Zoho Mail for free for a year, please fill in the form at the end of the webinar, and we'll be happy to help guide you how to make that application and hopefully be one of those 54 businesses that get Zoho Workplace free for a year. And that is an incentive that was launched today, which is a fantastic incentive by Zoho, and it's always great to see these things coming out of Zoho and these advancements constantly. Okay, so remember, fill in the form, and if you have any questions, we're here to help. So Graham, thanks again, and thanks for everyone's time today.